Did you know Americans spend over $33 billion a year on weight loss products and programs? Yet despite all of that money, 95% of people who lose a significant amount of weight gain it all back within 5 years. And even as daunting as another diet sounds, losing weight isn't even the hard part, because keeping it off is another battle entirely. I know this firsthand, since after repeating the same cycle for decades, I always found new diets to take the weight off quickly, only to watch the scale creep back up a few months later. After wasting far too much time and energy always trying to starve myself back down to my goal weight, I have finally figured out how to break free from that cycle. So in this video, I'll show you how I approach a fat loss phase step by step with a full week of eating, plus the daily habits I follow that actually work. But wait, didn't you already hit your goal weight like 20 videos ago? Yep, but that is when the hard part begins. Because even though you can do a little dance once that magic number pops up on your scale, you have to keep dancing if you wanted to stay there. I mean, not literally, unless that's your favorite way to stay active, then by all means, you dance your little heart out. But the truth is, if you don't stick to the same habits that got you to your goal in the first place, the weight doesn't just magically stay off. And when you find yourself traveling at least a week out of every month, followed by all of the usual holiday celebrations, topped off with some good old-fashioned stress eating before my recent surgery, let's just say the scale isn't too kind to that type of schedule. Plus, at the time, I was actually focused on gaining weight, since I finally learned that not all weight is bad, which means I took 6 months off from dieting in order to focus on building muscle. So the good news is, of the 12 pounds I regained between July and December, nearly half of that was muscle. Bad news, I also put on 7 pounds of fat. Now, maybe you're wondering why I'm not devastated by putting back on 12 of the 50 pounds I worked so hard to lose. But you have to understand that if you're serious about keeping fat off for the long term, that building muscle is one of the best things you can do. Even though a muscle building phase sometimes comes with a little bit of fat regain, it's easy enough to shed those extra pounds, especially now that your metabolism is even stronger with all of that new muscle. Which is a big reason it's so important to track more than just the scale when tracking your progress, like I did during my muscle building phase. So if you've ever felt frustrated by a scale that won't budge, or it even goes up even though you're doing everything right, there's a good reason that happens. If you're following a high protein diet while strength training 2 to 4 days each week, then you're gaining lean muscle while burning fat, which is exactly what you want, even if your scale doesn't move an ounce. Since gaining muscle is so important, even if the scale goes up, I'll add the math I use to track muscle gain in the comments in case you want to follow along and track this as well. Now that you understand that sometimes weight gain can be a good sign of a fat loss plan that's working, let me show you exactly how I plan to get back to my leanest self with a full week of getting back on track. Now that I'm mostly recovered from surgery, I jumped right back into my old habits where I start each day by stepping on the scale for my daily weight and body fat percent. Then I throw on my workout clothes and head to the kitchen for a morning caffeine boost. Since also starting the day with protein helps keep cravings down, I make my go-to shake, which consists of 2 ounces of chameleon cold brew, 4 ounces unsweetened coconut milk, 4 ounces of water, 0.2 ounces of MCT oil for energy, 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, and 1 scoop of chocolate protein, which adds up to 127 calories with 14 grams of protein, and it's a quick and easy way to start the day. Since I drink this every morning, I added it as a recipe and a chronometer to make tracking easier. Next, I spend 15 minutes stretching, avoiding core movements since I'm still recovering from surgery. Then I hop on my desk treadmill for 60 to 90 minutes, which I know that sounds like a ton of walking. But since walking helps my creativity, this routine makes my writing sessions more productive. If you don't have that much time, please don't stress out, especially since short walks after meals are just as effective. Even a brisk 10 to 15-minute walk after you eat can help you burn more calories while also lowering insulin levels and improving digestion. So follow whatever movement routine works best for you. Once I hit the 6-week post-surgery mark, I slowly added strength training back into my routine by stacking it right after stretching, which is a great tool you can use to add new habits into your routine. Stack a new habit you want to follow right before or after an existing habit in order to make it easier to fit into your day. Since I had to stop strength training for 7 weeks, I started small by adding 2 exercises a day, which only adds an extra 15 minutes to my morning routine. Since I needed to get as much done as I can when my kids are at school, I prefer quick, high-protein meals that don't require a lot of time. So for meal number 2, I make another protein shake, which has 4 ounces of unsweetened coconut milk, 4 ounces of water, 4 ounces of frozen strawberries, 1 scoop of Prime Equip protein powder, 1 tablespoon of cacao powder, which adds fiber and makes the shake creamier. My mid-morning shake has 176 calories with 26 grams of protein. It's quick, easy, and keeps me full until lunch. For lunch, I make one of my favorites from my high-protein meal plan, a buffalo chicken wrap. To put this one together, I use 1 Mission low-calorie wrap, 4 to 5 ounces of Just Bare buffalo chicken strips, half an ounce of cheese, lettuce and onions, plus half an ounce of sour cream. Since cooking reduces the weight of the chicken, I weigh about half an ounce more than I plan to end up with before cooking to make sure I get enough protein. After cooking, I adjust the final weight to the recipe I have saved in Chronometer for accurate tracking. Since some days I have 4 ounces, while other days it's closer to 5 ounces. Today's lunch comes in at 417 calories with 35 grams of protein. Once it's time for my afternoon snack, I decide on a big bowl of ranch popcorn. Since I don't feel like making it from scratch, I take the lazy route and add 1.5 ounces of pre-popped popcorn into a bowl. Then I spray some light oil spray, sprinkle on ranch seasoning, and heat for 30 seconds to give it that freshly popped taste. This entire bowl only adds up to 246 calories with 4 grams of protein and 4.4 grams of fiber. Popcorn is one of my favorite snacks since it's a low-calorie, high-fiber, and a high-volume snack. Since I'm only at 967 calories with 79 grams of protein so far, I have plenty of options for dinner. Tonight, I'm making spaghetti meat sauce for my family using 2 pounds of 93% lean ground beef, chopped onions and green peppers, a jar of raw sauce, and I serve myself 5 ounces of cooked pasta. Then I top the noodles with 7 ounces of meat sauce, bringing my total to 1,508 calories with 126 grams of protein. Since I'm under my protein goal of 150 grams for the day, I make one of my favorite high-protein desserts, strawberry cheesecake yogurt. This is easy to put together when I add 2 servings of 000 vanilla Greek yogurt, 20 grams of strawberry fruit spread, and 2 crumbled graham crackers, which adds 293 calories and 34 grams of protein, bringing my daily total to 1,801 calories with 160.8 grams of protein. That total gives me a solid start to the week since my goal is to keep my calories between 1,800 and 2,000 per day while getting at least 150 grams of protein. Sticking to this type of moderate deficit ensures I lose fat and not muscle. By planning high-protein meals and tracking before I eat, I know that I'm on track without obsessing over food. Now that day 1 is over, let's move on to Tuesday's routine, which is nearly identical to Monday. Tuesday starts with my morning weigh-in, which comes in at the same 159.2 pounds with 25.9% body fat. After tracking for 3 years, I've noticed my weight trends hold steady early in the week before it typically drops midweek. Since yesterday's routine is the same morning routine that I follow most days, I make my coffee shake and do my stretching and strength training before hitting my walking and work session. The only difference between Monday and Tuesday is I switch up my strength training in order to target a different muscle group. This allows for proper recovery for the muscles that I worked yesterday. By 10 a.m., hunger kicks in, so I measure out my mid-morning shake. When it's time for lunch, I heat up leftover spaghetti sauce. I make a few tweaks since I prefer my lunch to be lower in calories than dinner. To turn spaghetti sauce into a lower calorie meal that's still high in protein, I heat up 7 ounces of sauce and top with 1 ounce of cheese. Then I bake it until the cheese melts. For tracking, there are 2 ways you can log a meal like this. For a more accurate method, you can add all of the ingredients in a chronometer as a recipe and then weigh the final cooked portion. Or you can use the lazy method, which I'm using today, where you estimate how much of the sauce is meat versus veggies and sauce. In this case, I log 5 ounces of meat and 2 ounces of sauce, which brings my meal to 417 calories with 46 grams of protein. Since I want to stay on track with protein, I heat up 4 protein donut holes in the air fryer, which only adds 152 calories with 19 grams of protein. Tuesday's dinner is high protein ranch smash burgers, which are made up of 5 ounces of cooked 93% beef, split between 2 patties, an ounce of cheese, a Dave's whole grain bun, plus veggies and ketchup. Since I have room in my calories, I add a side of barbecue chips, which I measure out because otherwise I'd eat half the bag. And because I'm still under my calorie budget, I end the day with a few rice cake s'mores for dessert, bringing Tuesday's totals to 1,811 calories with 159.8 grams of protein, which is another spot-on day for fat loss. Wednesday morning, my weight drops for the first time this week, coming in at 158.3 pounds with 25.6% body fat. Once I'm weighed in, it's back to my coffee shake, stretching and strength training, and walking routine. Because keeping consistent routines is exactly how you get consistent results. Today I switched things up and make a Monte Cristo muffin for my high protein meal plan. It's a quick and easy meal when I toast a whole grain English muffin. After 2 minutes of toasting, I add 5 ounces of boar's head honey turkey and half an ounce of cheese and put it back into the toaster oven until the cheese melts. Then I add an ounce of raspberry jelly before enjoying this 357 calorie meal that packs in 43 grams of protein. For a mini meal, I go back to my favorite strawberry cheesecake yogurt, bringing me up to 954 calories with 118 grams of protein. Since I'm not hungry for an afternoon snack, I skip it. Since Wednesday nights are busy, I already have zesty barbecue chicken cooking in the crock pot, which is perfect for shredded barbecue chicken nachos. To make them, I melt 1 ounce of cheese over 1 ounce of tortilla chips. Then I top with 6 ounces of shredded barbecue chicken and add lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and an ounce of sour cream. This filling meal comes in at 590 calories with 49 grams of protein. Since I'm a few hundred calories under budget, I finished the night with my go-to dessert, which brings Wednesday's totals to 1,776 calories with 167.8 grams of protein. No surprises on Thursday since I wake up, weigh in, and see that my weight drops again to 157.6 pounds with 25.4% body fat. Then it's coffee shake, stretching, strength training, and a 60-minute treadmill walk, same as usual. Since I'm busy filming today, I keep my mid-morning meal quick with another protein shake. For lunch, I'm back to my staple buffalo chicken wrap since it's easy, filling, and fits so well into my macros. My afternoon snack is turkey slices and grapes, which, by the way, grapes are ranked as one of the most filling foods. I focus on making foods from that list staples in my diet since staying full on fewer calories makes fat loss easier. For Taco Tuesday, on a Thursday, I'm making high-protein tostadas. This is another easy meal to put together when you add 5 ounces of lean taco meat on top of 4 toasted shells and then top with your favorite veggies. I go with lettuce, onions, and tomatoes, and don't forget the sour cream. Since I'm not at 150 grams of protein yet, I heat up 5 protein donut holes for dessert, which ends my day at 1,632 calories with 160.3 grams of protein, which is less calories than I'm used to, but since I'm not hungry, I'll save those calories for my weekend meal out. On Friday, I have the same weight as Thursday, coming in at 157.6 pounds with 25.4% body fat. Even though my kids are home from school today, I still need to be consistent with my morning routine since I have goals to reach. Thankfully, they're at an age where they can keep themselves busy. Since I'm eating dinner out tonight and it's harder to find high protein meals at restaurants, I plan ahead by front-loading extra protein early in the day. For breakfast, I go with my Monte Cristo muffin at 10 a.m. For lunch, I switch things up and make a high-protein taco salad from last night's leftover taco meat. To throw together this easy meal, I spread 1 ounce of sour cream onto a plate and mix it with taco seasoning. Then I top with lettuce, 5 ounces of taco meat, diced onions, and tomatoes. This quick meal comes in at 350 calories with 40 grams of protein. For my afternoon snack, I'm back to my favorite ranch popcorn. Since my dinner will be higher in calories, I measure out only 1 ounce for 153 calories with 2 grams of protein. On Friday nights, I usually order my 8-year-old's favorite, Panda Express. Whenever I'm not aiming for a calorie deficit, I order orange chicken, honey sesame chicken, and eat about half the rice. Since I'm in a fat loss phase, this time I swapped the orange chicken for a double serving of string bean chicken. I also reduced my rice to about a third of a portion to make this a lower calorie, higher protein meal. I still enjoy my meal, which even includes a fortune cookie, ending the day at 1,987 calories with 149.1 grams of protein. Even though this is higher than the rest of the week, I'm still under my calorie goal while hitting my protein target. And just like clockwork, my scale jumps up nearly a pound Saturday morning. But I don't freak out since I understand that's just water retention that comes with the extra sodium from a meal out. I simply log it in my goal tracker and move on with my day. Even on the weekend, I stick to my morning shake, mobility work, and a 60-minute treadmill walk. Since my kid has a football game, I skip strength training, which is completely fine, especially since rest days are important for proper recovery. Breakfast is another Monte Cristo muffin since this is an easy high-protein meal. It's important that I stick to low-calorie, high-protein meals during the day on Saturdays since I usually eat out with my family on Saturday night. For lunch, I still have leftover taco meat, so I put together another taco salad. My afternoon snack is a mini strawberry cheesecake yogurt, which this time I make from only 1.5 servings of Greek yogurt, 15 grams of strawberry jelly, and 1 crumbled graham cracker. Once it's time for dinner, we head to our favorite local pub. Eating out in a fat loss phase means I have to balance enjoyment with awareness, since even one high-calorie meal out can undo an entire week's worth of progress. Tonight, I get my favorite Batman bacon burger with garlic fries. To make it a little more diet-friendly, I wipe off some of the mayo, remove the extra bacon, and eat less than half of the fries while giving the extra fries to my vultures. I mean kids. Since this is a meal I eat often, I added it as a meal in a chronometer to make tracking easier. To be honest, since I have no clue how many calories this is, I just took my best guess when adding the ingredients into the meal. Even though I estimate this meal around 1,221 calories, I am aware that it's probably even higher. But even without precise macros, I don't ignore tracking meals out since that's an easy way to stall weight loss. After logging my meal out, I see that I finished the day at 2,260 calories with 173.3 grams of protein. Even though that's above my daily target, I still make progress since I ate under budget most of the week. Since I ate out last night, it comes as no surprise that my weight is up again on Sunday. This is the exact reason I weigh in daily while only really paying attention to my weekly averages. If I decided to randomly weigh in on a Thursday and then decided to step back on the scale on Sunday, then I'd probably freak out thinking that I gained 2 pounds. But once I take a look at my weekly weight average, the reality is I lost a pound since last week. These days, Sunday Fun Day still means sticking to my morning routine of a shake, stretch, strength train, and walk. Because my favorite simple high-protein meals work just as well on Sundays, I heat up a buffalo chicken wrap. In the afternoon, I opt for 2 of my favorite mini meals, a protein shake around 1, followed by a strawberry cheesecake yogurt at 3. For our Arizona-based family, Sunday nights are for grilling, which means we usually stick to steak and baked potatoes. Since potatoes rank as the #1 most filling food per calorie, I never mind spending extra calories on the biggest baked potato that I could find. But I use my calories wisely for the actual potato while skipping butter and bacon. The potato still stays low enough in calories when I top with salt, sour cream, and green onions. To finish off the week, I enjoy 2 rice cake s'mores ending the day at 1,780 calories with 153.2 grams of protein. Now that I've taken you through an entire week of fat loss meals, let's break down my results. Every week I analyze my progress to see if I need to adjust my habits or if I should just keep doing what's working. The targets I've set for my fat loss plan include a weight loss goal of at least half a pound per week or around 2 pounds per month, which I know sounds really slow, but that's exactly how I lost 50 pounds in the first place, with a slow and steady plan. This puts my calorie goal under 2,000 per day with a daily protein goal of 150 grams and a step goal of around 10,000 per day. Looking at my tracker, I averaged 1,864 calories while staying on track with both my protein and step goals. Even though these numbers aren't 100% accurate, I like to compare what my TDEE estimate was compared to what my smartwatch activity was, just to see how close I get to the estimates. My total daily energy expenditure, which I based on the original macros I calculated, predicted that I'd lose 1.16 pounds this week. Based on my smartwatch TDEE, I should have lost 1.31 pounds. But my actual weight loss comes in at 1.01 pounds. Even though it's slightly lower than predicted, it's still motivating to see that kind of solid progress. I also averaged my body fat percent and ended up losing 0.46% of body fat this week, which is great. Is my Smart Scale 100% accurate for this estimate? Probably not. But unless I want to get a DEXA scan every single week, it is good enough for tracking my trends over time. Now that I analyze my week, I look back at the first 2 weeks of the month and add up the totals so far. Once I add this week's loss to the 2.3 pounds I lost the first 2 weeks, I'm down 3.31 pounds in January, which already exceeds my expectations with another week to go. Before we celebrate too much, I do want to point out how common it is to lose more weight in the first month after getting back on track. That means I also understand that later months could slow down, which is why staying consistent through both the ups and the downs matters. But I'm perfectly okay with my results possibly slowing down since I understand this isn't a quick fix short-term strategy, especially since this is the exact system I used to lose 50 pounds, which was usually at a rate of losing only 2 to 4 pounds in a month. More importantly, I still use this system to help me achieve my health goals, even if my weight does fluctuate a little from time to time. But once I lose the last few pounds of fat to get back to my leanest self, I'll still use this system, keeping an eye on my monthly trends so I never fall back into regaining everything I lost. If you're also ready to ditch fad diets forever and you want a fat loss plan that actually works, I put all of this together for you in my Forever Fat Loss System. I'll link it in the pinned comment in case you want to check it out. And since dialing in your macros is so important for a fat loss system that works, watch this video next. I walk you through exactly how to set up your macros for your fat loss goals.